we're doing an outside the Friary, a very famous baseball field, Rickwood Field. And they just had a major league game, the first one in Alabama, actually this past summer. So we just watched a wonderful game here, and there's a lot of history with Rickwood Field that we're going to be talking about with actually one of the people who's associated with Rickwood Field. But John, how did you arrange to have a game played here with your sons?
Well, what happened, Father, we came here about 2 years ago with Brendan for his birthday, and the guys were real friendly, and they said we can go out and hit and throw and do all kinds of things out here on the field. So we did that, and I got to know the administrator of the field here. His name's Gerald, which we stayed in contact, and I said, I'd like to do this type of game here at Rickwood since it's such a wonderful place and you got a lot of history here, and that's what we did here today.
That's awesome. I really enjoyed the game, and it started off, you were a little bit rough in that first inning.
Yes, Father.
Some wild pitches. You got down 2 runs, and your brother, John David, was catching for you. How's his curveball?
It was good today.
It was good today?
Yes, sir.
Not always? Not
It's
every
off
day?
and on. But today it was on.
Today it was on. And I heard the fastball was popping pretty good today, too.
Yes, sir.
So you actually struck out 16 of the possible 21 batters in the 7 innings. So you were in the groove today. You felt pretty good?
Yes, Father. I felt pretty good, and one of my best games for sure.
You just had a major league game here, is that right?
That's right. Last June the 20th, we had the Cardinals and the Giants. It's the first time there's ever been a regular season MLB game held in the state of Alabama. It was broadcast to 55 countries. Highest rated TV game ever for a non-World Series or playoff game in the middle of the week. So we're very proud of that.
That's awesome. I'm from Iowa, and I grew up near the Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
And the very first time that they did a major league game in Iowa was at the Field of Dreams. But this has got a lot of history. Why don't you tell us, first of all, what's your name and what's your position
I'm
here?
Gerald Watkins. I'm president and chief executive officer of the Friends of Rickwood Field, and I run the ballpark.
And tell us a little bit about the history of this park.
Well, the ballpark was built in 1910. It served as a home for the Birmingham Barons, the Birmingham Black Barons, the Birmingham A's. Alabama and Auburn played some football games here in the 20s. 183 Hall of Famers have played here. 3 full-length movies have been filmed here, but of course the biggest thing was the MLB game last year.
Now I see we have Willie Mays Pavilion. Did Willie Mays play here?
Willie Mays played here. He started here as a 17-year-old. His mother let him skip school to play with the Black Barons, and he went on to become what some people say is the greatest baseball player of all time.
Who would be some of the other names that people would know from?
Ty Cobb, Babe Ruth, Reggie Jackson, Jackie Robinson, Mickey Mantle, Roberto Clemente. Gosh, I can go on and on. 183, I can't rattle them all off, but a lot of them.
And what would be some of the things that would be happening here now in the present time?
Well, we play travel ball games, we play college games, high school games. Coming up in May, we have the SWAC baseball tournament, Southwest Athletic Conference. In June, we have the World Police and Fire Games. And also on June the 4th, we have the Birmingham Barons coming to play the Trash Pandas.
Okay.
So that's a big thing for us as well.
And would you encourage people to come out here? What might they find, and when will there be games happening out here?
Well, they can check our website. We try to keep it up to date. Sometimes things happen fairly quickly like this game, and we don't have time to get those on. But most of the time, we try to keep our website up to date. They can always check rickwood.com. They can call and talk to me. I answer 98% of the calls I get.
Okay.
Some I'm going to miss. I'm not perfect, but I'll let everybody know what's going on. And our website is a good resource. One of the more interesting things we have are these seats. These seats are over 100 years old. They were at a ballpark originally in New York City called the Polo Grounds, which is where the New York Giants played before they moved west to San Francisco. So people that sat in these seats could have seen Willie Mays play as a kid. They could have seen Mel Ott or Bill Terry, a lot of the greats of the game. The Polo Grounds was torn down in the early 60s, and these seats were sold to Rickwood Field. And they stayed here from 64 to 81. And I distinctly remember as a kid coming to games here and wondering why there was an NY on our seats.
Wow.
And I didn't learn that until maybe 40 years later. And a gentleman came in and said, I want to donate some things to you. And he donated some of these seats. We have replica jerseys, like a replica jersey from Willie Mays' time here. We have a big picture of Willie Mays.
There he
And
is.
you mentioned
Birmingham.
being from Iowa. When I heard that they were doing the game in Iowa, I reached out to Major League Baseball and I said, no offense to Iowa, but this is a real field of dreams here, because he was smiling in that picture and dreaming about being in the big leagues.
Yeah.
So I sold that story to MLB. They decided they would come, and the rest is history.
Oh, you brought him here. That's great.
Consider Babe Ruth and Willie Mays the two greatest baseball players of all time. That's an independent decision people make on their own. But this is Babe Ruth here in 1929. Over the years, there were many exhibition games that played here because Birmingham had a tremendous rail system, and the teams would get on the train in Florida and head north. Then they would stop along the way and play games as a way to make money and share the game with fans. So Babe Ruth played here in the 20s several times, along with Lou Gehrig. This is a 1912 replica uniform. And this is a really cool, this is not very old, but a really cool piece right here. The San Francisco Giants uniform was worn by the manager, Bob Melvin, when they played here last year.
Okay.
So that's a one-of-a-kind piece. And someone actually bought that in an auction and donated it to us. So very proud to have that. And then you'll see things here. We have a museum and a gift shop, so we sell our goods to try to raise money for the ballpark as well. This locker was built by the film crew that did the movie 42.
Okay.
And they donated it to us when they finished filming the movie. So we brought it in here, and that was the first thing that we ever put in here when we tried to make this a museum. So we started putting things in here, replica uniforms, things like that. We have some old baseball gloves, and my favorite is actually a part of my own collection that I loaned to the ballpark. This is a 1928 baseball glove. So this is the kind of glove maybe Babe Ruth would have worn, or Satchel
Wow.
Paige. It's not much more than a work glove. You try it on. And I'll actually toss you one fairly soft.
Okay.
There
I
you
did
go.
catch it.
Back in
Doesn't
the
have
old,
as big
back
a-
in the old days, they used to say catch with two hands, and mainly it was so
Ah,
ball comes to you, you put that other hand to make sure it doesn't pop out.
wow.
This is not very old, but this is an actual game base that was used in the movie. I'm sorry, in the game last year on June the 20th. So a lot of people didn't realize that the bases are this big, but that's an actual game used base. You can see cleat marks from where one of the players stood on it.
Wow.
One of our other legends that's not in the Hall of Fame is Bo Jackson. If you look at the picture over here, Bo Jackson played here in
Yes.
high school, in college, and in the minor leagues as a member of the Memphis Chicks.
Well, thank you so much for showing
My
us.
pleasure.
here. I really
Pleasure.
enjoyed
Thank you for coming.
getting to know about Rickwood Field. Now, what's it like to play at a field where Willie Mays played and Babe Ruth played?
It's it hasn't really hit me yet, but it was
Yeah.
amazing, and I'm just really grateful to be able to play on this field. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's great to be in this history and all of this atmosphere here. And if you're in the Birmingham area sometime, you may want to stop by Rickwood Field to take in some of this history. And I noticed, John, that at the end of the game, that the players came together, they congratulated each other from both teams, but then they also huddled together and they said a prayer. Talk about that.
Well, so most of the teams we play are Christian teams. Of course, they do have some Catholics on the teams too. And after every game, we pray, we congratulate each other, and we're just thankful to God that we're able to do this. And it's also a good atmosphere with the kids that come in, that have that godly presence, and to bring God into baseball, you know, and it's just a different atmosphere than regular baseball high school teams. It's just, he's kind of the center of what we're doing, so it's really neat.
We're getting a little bit wet here right now because I turned on the sprinklers, but that's okay. I just want to ask one more question. So, John David, you help serve at the shrine, and we enjoy the Price Boys helping out so often at the shrine for the different events that we have there. Tell us about your own faith. How important is your faith to you?
Yeah, I enjoy living close to the shrine as we do, and serving masses and getting to know the priests. It's good, and I just enjoy it. It's great.
And we always need to feed our souls, don't we? And you're such a good witness to all of the people that come here. So how about for you, Brendan? What about you and your serving at the shrine?
Yeah, it's been really a blessing to be able to be so close and to serve all the time and assist the priest at mass and the faith is everything, and it's just every day, just working every day to try to become a saint. That's the goal, and yeah, it's amazing.
That's the goal. That is. So, John, finally, you knew Father Robert Fox, who people know as the Fatima priest, and you continue on his legacy and even the place where he lived there. He concluded his life at the Shrine of the Blessed Sacrament. He had the noon mass every day, and people got to know him. Of course, we all loved him. But talk about the message of Fatima, Father Fox, maybe a little bit, and how important that's been to your own family life.
Well, I think I never really thought much about Fatima before I met him. And so now I realize the impact it has on my life, because Fatima is an everyday spiritual journey where we learn to pray the rosary, we wear the brown scapular, we do the 5 first Saturday devotion in a family, and it brings that family unity together, and it also creates a bond, and I think that's important. And Father wrote almost 50 books, so he has a lot of information out there, and people continue to use it. He was really big in the youth movement in the Catholic Church too, so his impact on my life is it's just amazing. What I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for him and my faith, so I'm very grateful for that too. So
now the ministry still exists. How could people learn more about that?
yes, we actually, speaking of the Shrine of the Blessed Sacrament, we have a museum that's about a mile from the shrine where we have it's about Father's life, and we also teach about the message of Fatima. We have people from all over the world too come in, and Lauren, my daughter, helps me with it. She kind of is there during the day, and if somebody gets a big question, she will call me. Or want to know more information, she'll call me to come down. So, and I'll try to be there when I can. But it's just it's amazing, because even in that, it's like Mother Angelica said, one soul at a time.
Right.
And I'm seeing that more here than I am at the museum than I am in other areas of life, because it's just like that. We get a lot of Protestants coming too, and it's just they're like interested in it,
Right.
So it's really so I see that. Sometimes you feel like you're not doing much, but when you get those that come in like that, you can see that you can make an impact, and Father's made an impact through his mission and ministry with the message of Fatima.
And check that out. It's right on the way to the Shrine of the Blessed Sacrament. You'll see it on the left as you're driving toward the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament. And you actually have a letter of Sister Lucia, right? Lucia.
Yeah, we have a letter that Father received from Sister Lucia that states that the consecration in 1984 was valid. Of course, you have the naysayers.
Right.
We're always going to have that. But we've seen what happened after, with Russia, the fall of the Berlin Wall and all these things that happened. It's definitely divine intervention, because no shots were fired and that wall came down. And we see a lot of fruits from that. Not that we're living the message like we should be, like we should be living this message and spreading it. Sometimes that's not the case all the time, but we definitely see the fruits from it, and we hope to continue to spread the message that families can incorporate in their spiritual journey in their daily lives.
Well, we thank you so much for being part of this Outside the Friary piece and unexpected surprises, joyful surprises that I experienced here at Rickwood Field. So we hope you enjoyed this video.